What's up guys, Christian here from CK Wraps. So I'm going to wrap the roof of my car in Vivid's new black carbon fiber. It's a new product that came out with maybe a month ago or so. I just want to show you what that looks like kind of in comparison to 3M. I have some 3M here also. Again, it's kind of personal preference of what you prefer as far as color goes. I do find the Vivid's carbon fiber to be more black, but I'm going to show you right now. So here, let the camera focus. So here we have 3M, and I'll remove the tape so that we can open it up and see it a little bit better. So 3M 1080 black carbon fiber. It's got a bit of a sheen to it. This, in comparison to Vivid's, we'll show you right here. Now, in my opinion, the 3M isn't quite as black, it's a little bit more gray. But then again, this also kind of has like a steely, bluish, grayish tinge to it. So I don't know really what's more black. They both look really good. And it's, again, all personal preference. As far as cost goes, I mean, we all know 3M is going to be quite a bit more expensive. But as far as the look goes, you're going to get a very similar look in the end. Both are textured. This one is a little bit, 3M's a little bit more textured. I can feel it for sure. This is a little bit less textured. So it's probably not going to hold contaminants like dirt, grease, that kind of stuff as much as 3M will. I know that 3M starts to go gray over time. Vivid's claiming that this is more resilient to grime and dirt and debris and that kind of stuff, so it doesn't stain as easily. We're gonna find out because I'm gonna leave this on my roof. I don't think I've ever wrapped the roof of my car. Why would I? It's gloss black. I just always leave it gloss black. My paint is starting to look like junk, so I want to wrap it to protect it. There's some marks on here and some stone chips that I can't live with anymore. So we're gonna wrap it, we're gonna protect it, and why not do it in carbon fiber just cause. So I have the piece already cut. And I have prepped the surface with a little bit of tack reducer and some isopropyl alcohol. I just use a little bit of tack reducer so that it's not as aggressive. As I know, Vivid is a bit more heat activated. It's not that hot in here today at all. It's like 65, 60 degrees. That's probably around like 16, 17 degrees Celsius. It's not very hot, so it shouldn't be too aggressive, but we're gonna find out anyways. I put some tack reducer down, masked off all the edges. That way when we trim, we don't cut into anything. And I'm going to tuck in all the front and back window seal. So let me get the vinyl on top of the roof. So I have my piece already cut, all right? My car's wet, yes. It's, I just drove here. And it's raining today. So we want to position this in a spot where it has full coverage. I have my magnets. I can zoom in a little bit more now that I'll move the camera up. One sec. Also going to lift it. If I can. The tripod isn't very good. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'm doing the wrong one here. There we go. All right. Let's get this better angle here. All right. So it's getting a little warm in here with the sweater. Take this off. So as I was saying, I'm going to position this film where I need it as far as full coverage goes. Cut your piece a little bit larger than where you're wrapping. I'm going to trim off any excess on the opposite side over here. So I don't need to have that much kicking around. And we can use that for something else later on. Actually, I'll just use my blade. So you should be using a snitty. I'm going to use my blade. I'm just too lazy to go and get mine. So one thing I didn't mention also is that this is Vivid's, it says Vivid Plus on it, so Premium Plus on the backing. You'll notice that the paper is more waxy than the older versions of their films. So that way you know you have the more updated version of their film. It's got some debris on the roof, I want to get it off. On top of that, I'm just going to wipe it off because the table, the cutting table that I used to cut this wasn't completely clean. So I want to get all that off. Any debris that's on it can potentially scratch it. All right, perfect. So in order to do this alone, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start at one corner, whatever you're more comfortable with, and roll the backing paper. We want to keep the backing paper rolling so we don't tear it. Stick a magnet down. If you have two people, you can do this together. Makes life a little bit easier. Pretty excited to see how this is going to look. So again, stick my magnet back down. Let's get this side going. I'm going to remove my magnet on this corner because it's blocking the paper. Perfect. And there we go. So what happened here right now is I have a zipper line or mark in the film. The reason why that happened is because the paper came to a point and I kept rolling it off, so it created a ripple mark in the film. That can be heated out, so I'm not too worried about it. Once this is done, it's going to look great. I'm not worried about it at all because vinyl has a memory. Now, if that was chrome, that would be completely damaged, and there would be no going back. So we're going to start by glassing this out and getting it to the position that we need it. Not that sticky. Start by pulling out in all directions. What I like to do is I'll work one corner at a time once I get this better than the way it was. Perfect. Okay? Something like that. What I'm going to need to do, this vinyl isn't very stretchy at all right now. It's a bit cold in here. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to add some heat. So I want to lock this in. Right around the middle here, and I'm lifting it up so that I don't get any wrinkles. basically from this area out to this way. So I've got my trusty heat gun. The one thing you don't want to do is heat the film too much. If you heat this film too much, you're going to throw the weave. So I have the temperature on high, but I keep the heat gun moving. Just to give me enough stretch. Then we'll lock it in. And then now, because I have these wrinkles running across this way, I can pull from the bottom. Kind of like that. I'll add a little more heat and balance this out. There we go. You want to keep it as consistent as possible. Now I'm going to take my heat and shrink this back a little bit because I stretched it. I'm just letting the film relax. I don't have to push too hard with the squeegee, we don't need to kill the film. So I can see right here, and I don't like it, where the pattern is kind of thrown. So that means I've stretched it about a little too much. I'm going to heat it and shrink it back. I have to remove the magnet on the other side because it's holding me down. Now I can heat things up a little bit more evenly. You can see that I have more play on the other side. Definitely a little bit more difficult to do in a colder shop. Ah, it's perfect. It's all right. So the line that I had in there, it was like a wavy line right around here, is where I added heat and then stretched. If I don't add heat over a large area, that will happen. It'll throw the pattern. I don't want to stretch this anymore. If anything, I want to heat it and shrink it back a little bit. So I know that I stretched it a little bit. Okay. Sorry guys, I lost you there at some point and the battery died on the camera, so I'm just going to continue doing what I was doing here. Not really sure what I was talking about before we left off, but I'm not going to work that side just yet. I'm going to work this side. I'll finish this off since you can see it much better from this side. So when we're doing this section over here, what we want to do is, what I like to do is at least, since I have the sunroof here, is heat more in the sunroof area so that I can take the stretch from the sunroof area since we're going to be cutting that out anyways. That way it doesn't throw off this area here. As you can see, we have a lot of bunching up and a lot of excess film, so we need to get that film drawn out to the sides. Now, if you don't have a sunroof, what you're going to want to do is do a very similar technique to what we did over there, is heat over a larger area and gradually stretch. So since I have the sunroof, I'll take full advantage of that. I actually prefer wrapping cars with sunroofs because they're super easy. You don't have as much initial tack with this space right here, not even touching anything. So it makes it a lot easier. So let's heat this up a little bit and let's lift it up. Can't hold the heat gun at the same time. There we go. So I'm going to heat, like I said, all in this area here. I'm going to heat out those marks that I got in the front. Those are gone already. So we're going to look something like this. All right. You want to make sure that there aren't any wrinkles right around that edge right here, okay? Now, again, I'm reading the wrinkles. I'm going to draw the film out to the side because I have the wrinkles running this way. I'm going to add a touch of heat. And so for this area here, I have the wrinkles running across this way. I should be able to pull down and get most of them out. If you can't, it's kind of borderline for me right now. So I'm going to come down with the squeegee a little bit more, lock it in a little bit lower. I'm going to add a touch more heat. It would have been nicer if I left myself with a little bit more film in the front and a little bit close. I'm just gonna check it, make sure I'm not throwing the weave or have any dark lines or anything like that going on. Yeah, it looks good right now. I'm gonna leave this right now because as I pull this way, it's going to stretch some of the bottom here across. So I'm gonna glass out that other side. Floor is soaked here. There we go. Just pop this section up here. There we go, let's fix all that. Pull across this way. So I don't really need to add any heat. Right there. Lock that in. Again, the film is a little bit harder to work with than I would like. It's not helping that it's cold in here and it's not pliable at all right now. Let's put it this way. If I was working with 3M right now in this temperature, it would just shatter with me pulling on it. So there is kind of a plus side to it. 3M will just break while this is actually maintaining itself really well right now. I'm not really worried about it snapping or tearing. So I'm gonna add a little bit of heat here, fix that up. All right. Yeah, okay, cool. You can come in and look at the colors if you want.
Are you still on?
Yeah, it's on camera, don't worry though, it's fine. Yeah. I edited it.
How's it going, man?
How you doing, Christian? Man?
Nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you, man. Yeah, have a look at the colors if you want. All right, so I'm gonna add a bit of heat to this area right here. Just to soften that up a little bit. I want to make sure that I'm not overstretching it. All right, guys, take it easy. All right. So this is slightly problematic. It should not be looking like that right now. So we're going to, I'm going to have to draw some of this out without hurting the film. We've got tons of water dripping off the heat gun right now. It's not good. Let's draw that out really carefully. Still looks good. All right. Perfect. Right over there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this area over here and not even worry about that right now. And because I still have some wrinkles here and some extra film, draw this up, stretch it out, and that will help with that also on top of what I'm going to do right now. Okay, perfect. Let's lock it in. So I should be pretty good in this area here. I'm gonna add a little bit of heat to shrink it back down, but let's get some of it squeegeed down first. What's going on? Just doing a quick video. So I got a wrinkle here, I'm just going to heat it out. That air bubble out. Perfect. So I'm going to check it, make sure the weave is good. Everything looks fantastic. We'll finish this section off right here. Probably won't need a lot of heat. Or any at all. Thing with the heat is that you want to set yourself up in certain areas, like this. I didn't even have to add any heat afterwards. I just have to lift the film up and squeegee. It's a very large area, and we don't really want to heat too much of the film. We don't want to concentrate the heat in certain areas either at the same time. So I'm going to just wipe off some of the water so you can see what this looks like before I do any trimming. All right. So there's some streaks on just from the water, but the carbon fiber pattern isn't thrown off at all. All right. That's the important part, because it will look terrible if you throw that pattern off. So let's go around the front. Hit up the other side here. So you can see where I was adding heat in that area right there. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's all nice and straight, all right? All that over there is also nice and straight. I got a dent in my roof. But yes, it looks good. So, let's get to the trimming. What I want to do is, I'll zoom in a bit here. I'm going to take my wrap glove and I'm going to heat up these edges a little bit and go over with my wrap glove. And so because my car is black, I don't really have to wrap too far into the sunroof area. If it was white, you might want to go a little bit deeper on the sides and the front. The back strip is always very narrow. It's only about not even a half an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch thick. So that one you don't really have to worry about. So I added heat to lock in all the edges before I do any trimming or cutting. When I'm doing this section here, what I want to do is I want to cut as straight as possible without too much of your blade out in the recess, okay? So you don't want to, you can use knifeless tape for this if you want to, I don't really ever. And use your finger as a guide, and I'm just going to cut on, or not on, or I'm going to cut in the gap. So my blade is floating, but my finger is giving me a guide against the edge. This is one of those things where you don't want to push too hard or too deep. Okay. For this seal back here on my particular car, I run my blade on the glass edge, leaving myself enough to tuck in, without pushing too hard, again, because you'll cut through the seal. Same thing for the front edge. Glass side. And then for around here, I'm going to give it once around with a little excess, and then I'll trim off the excess afterwards. It's important to have your blade float so that you don't, and learn how to cut like that so you don't cut into other areas of the car. So having it float between the gaps is really important, and using your finger as a guide is an extremely important skill to acquire. So even though I'm cutting close to the window trim, my blade is still floating in between the gap. It's floating in between the glass and the window trim itself. So again, same thing on this side. Keep an eye on your guide, which is your finger, making sure that you're always on that edge. And that'll give you a nice consistent straight cut, for the most part, going all the way down. And again, I'll finish this side off here. So I can get rid of all of this. let's trim out the rest of this. Get rid of that. And then the shark fin antenna hole, run your blade on the inside. Grab the piece, do not push it in. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. And that's it. So I'm gonna start tucking in front and rear window seal, but after I go over the side edges with some heat first. So what I want to do is I'm going to round those corners off. So all I'm doing with the corner is eating it and then pushing down and kind of rounding it with my thumb. Screwed this up a little bit, so I gotta peel it back. There we go. All right. Now what I'm going to do is finish this off completely. So as far as the window trim goes, I have a little triangle tool that I like to use. And this will vary as far as difficulty goes from car to car, even from the same car to another same car. Like this is a Genesis Coupe, and I've done a lot of roof wraps, and sometimes these window trims are really tight and sometimes they're not. So I think mine's pretty good. It also will depend if the front glass has ever been changed. It usually doesn't fit as well as OEM, and that'll make tucking this in a little bit tighter. Now there are some window trims out there that are really recessed, like on Mercedes, where they go way down in there. What I would do is I would just trim off a certain amount, straight line, probably with Nyquist tape, and then tuck the rest of that in there, because sometimes on some Mercedes you just can't get a tool in low enough. So what you do is then you push the vinyl down in there, and it's never going to come out. It may overlap the window trim, the window seal, slightly, but that's not a big deal. In that case, I know a lot of shops who do it that way. It's almost impossible to get a blade in there properly because the recess is so far down that you're going to risk damaging something. So it's better just to overlap the seal slightly. That way you have full coverage and you're not damaging anything. Perfect. Back one's even easier. as far as maintenance goes on this, I don't know yet. This is a fairly new product, so I still wouldn't get wax on it or anything like that. Just wash it with soap and water, regular soap and water. Perfect. So what's nice about this is that I don't see any scratches, like there's none. On gloss black, if you do gloss black roof, you get a lot of swirl marks just from your buffer alone on your squeegee. While with carbon fiber, I don't see any. I'm going to trim off all this excess inside here. I'm going to show you guys what this finished product looks like in a moment. We're starting a Honda S2000 today, so it's going to be an interesting one. We're doing it in Avery Satin Black, just because Avery Satin Black is really, really nice. It's probably the most popular color I've ever done as far as color changes go. Perfect. All right. I'm going to take the tape off and I'm going to show you what all of this looks like. All right. So, let's have a look at the edges. Let's focus. Here's your corner. It's nice and straight all the way down, all right? There's a little dirt there. Another corner there. Let's check out the inside. So there's no discoloration or improper curve to the pattern. Everything's just a little water here. I got there. But everything looks great. Inside again. And your corners, guys, all right? Everything's tucked away neat and tidy. All right, so that, my friends, is how we use carbon fiber for the most part. This was a little bit more challenging to use today because of the temperature in here. It's cold. My legs are soaked, kind of sucks right now because I've been leaning against my car and it was wet. And yeah, so you want to make sure that the pattern always stays very symmetrical. Overstretching this film will make it look really bad. That's with any carbon fiber. The only time I haven't seen it happen with this is the gloss versions, but with the more matte or semi-gloss versions, it's really easy to throw that carbon fiber weave. So just keep that in mind when you're heating it and when you're stretching it. Do it how I did it, even if it takes longer. This is a reason why we also charge a little bit more for carbon fiber. The material costs more, and it's a little bit more difficult to install. Sorry, the video cut out. It always cuts out at 30 minutes for some reason. So I'm going to show you how we do this, the Honda Civic Type R in brush metal without throwing the weave too much, because we got to keep that as straight as possible. It's going to be super important. That's a display car, and it's a brand new car, and it's a pretty big seller right now. It's super popular. So we're going to get on to the S2K, and in Avery Satin Black, you get to see how Avery works and why I like using it. It's really, really nice. Even in colder temperatures, it installs really well and doesn't crack. It stretches with ease, and it's just probably one of my favorite films. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. And that's it. Thanks, take care.